Well, hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Paul Crowther, and I'd like to give you a warm welcome to our video series, The Wirral and the Bible. In this series, we'll be taking a look at some of the things associated with the Wirral that either have an explicit link to the Bible or that we're going to use as an illustration for something that the Bible teaches. These videos are being filmed during the coronavirus outbreak in 2020. That means sometimes we'll be able to film on location, and other times we'll have to make do with photos because of the restrictions currently in place. Well, today, as you may guess looking behind me, we are in New Brighton. Just behind me you can see Perch Rock Lighthouse. The name comes from a timber perch supporting a lantern that was first erected here in the 1600s, allowing shipping to pass the rock safely. Just beyond that you can see Perch Rock Fort, a fort that was active all the way up to the Second World War, manned by the Home Guard, incredibly. So I wonder how many of you have been here at the Floral Pavilion. Quite soon after we moved up to the Wirral, we came and saw Jerry and the Pacemakers here, which was brilliant. Maybe you've been to see a show here, maybe you've even performed on the stage here. There's some things in New Brighton that I can't show you because they're not here anymore. There used to be the New Brighton Tower, which was the tallest in the country when it opened in 1900. It hosted lots of famous acts, including the Beatles. Now, after last week's video, Phil Byron got in touch and said that he'd been involved in doing some of the electrical work over at Birkenhead Priory. Now, I have no idea if Phil was involved in doing the electrics here at the New Brighton Tower as well, but it burnt down in 1969. So, Phil, if you want to own up to that, feel free to. So today I've brought us to New Brighton to talk about something else that's not here anymore. It's the Black Pearl pirate ship. Some of you will know about it. I'm going to tell you its story today, and we're going to try and use it as a parable to remind us of something the Bible teaches. Now, I want to give you a warning when I tell you I'm going to use this as a parable. The most famous parable teacher of all was, of course, Jesus, and his parables were amazing. He used stories to teach amazing truths about God, the world, and us. He was the master parable teacher. And you can read his, if you'd like to, in the accounts of his life in the Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, and I would urge you to go and read them if you haven't before. This modern parable I'm going to tell you today is vastly inferior to his, but I hope it will be of some small encouragement to you today. So the parable goes like this. There was once a talented artist called Frank. He lived on the Wirral and he often saw driftwood washing up on the beaches as he took a walk. Other people would see the same driftwood and would just treat it as a mess or something to pick up and throw back into the sea. But when Frank saw the driftwood, he saw something no one else could see. He saw potential. He saw not just what was there, but what could be. And joining with others, he planned to create something amazing out of what was currently viewed as nothing. And just a short time later, the Black Pearl pirate ship grew up and stood proudly at the far side of the River Mersey. Families who passed by would stop to play on her. Grandparents would go out of their way to take their grandchildren down to see her. Across the years, she became a much-loved feature to her local community and brought moments of joy to thousands of people. She didn't always have an easy life. There was an arson attack at one point, and there was a moment when she had to be rebuilt after extensive damage, but she kept going, loved and supported by a committed group of friends and volunteers. And then, the night of May the 11th, 2020 came. The night that the storm hit, the night that the sea finally made its cruel kidnapping of the Black Pearl into the darkness. Those who loved her went down the next day to survey the damaged. They carried what was left and stacked it in a pile, a momentary memorial at the side of the promenade to what was once there. Having completed their task, those who loved her talk about what there had been before. They reminisced of their memories over the years, and they talked about how they could rebuild her again. They talked of a future where she might once again stand proud and tall, bringing fun and joy once more. That's the parable of the Black Pearl. And it's a parable because it mirrors what the Bible says about our own lives. You see, there once was a talented creator, He created the earth and a beautiful garden where he would walk. And as he walked in the garden, he would see the dust of the earth. Others would have seen that same dust and would just have treated it as a mess or something to walk across. But when this talented creator saw the dust, he saw something no one else could see. He saw potential. He saw not just what was there, but what could be. He saw something that was worth making, something that one day would be worth even giving his own life for. And so he planned to create something amazing out of nothing. And just a short time later, humans would populate the earth. They would grow up and stand proudly. They would each have their day in the sun. Families would gather together. They would have their moment and would become much loved features of their local community and enjoy moments of joy together. They won't always have an easy life. There will be dark moments where they have to endure difficult times, but they'll be kept going, loved and supported by a committed group of friends and family. But all is not right in this world, because sin and death have been allowed in with devastating consequences. And one night, for each of us, the storm of death will hit us. Those who loved us will go down the next day to survey the damage. They will carry us off in our own wooden box and create their own memorial to what was once there. Having completed their task, those who loved us will talk of what had been. They will reminisce on happy memories, and they will dream and crave a future where there might have just been one more moment, where there might have been just one more time to stand proud and tall, bringing fun and joy once more. You know, the Bible says that God knows the pain of death. He knows the storm that we are all facing, but not only that, the one who made us from the dust offers to remake us in resurrection power. You see, when Jesus was here 2,000 years ago, he visited the grave of a man named Lazarus who had died, and he turned to a family member who was stood there, and he said these words. You can read them in John 11. Jesus said, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die, and whoever lives by believing in me will never die." And then he turned to them and said, "Do you believe this?" His words seem like a fantasy. They seem like a dream, but they were said by the man who showed he had the power to do it by dying himself and then rising again 3 days later. In a world where our lives mirror the story of the Black Pearl, where one day the storm will wash us away, Jesus promises us a hope that lasts through death. Trust in him, the Bible urges, and you will have an anchor that holds through the fiercest of storms, and you will be brought to a place of new life, peace, and abundant joy even after your death. If you have never looked at the hope offered by Jesus, there is no better time to do that than right now. You can look at the description of this video to see how you can do that. Please do. Well, that's the end of today's edition of the Wirral and the Bible. I hope you all have a great week, and if you've enjoyed the video today, then look out for the next video in this series next week.